Chapter 2. This Time Tomorrow. I saw him enter. He was hard to miss. He had short brown hair that barely went down to his ears. It was a two-bit haircut, meaning that Scissors, a barber who I happened to know was homeless, would cut your mane and tail for a bit. The other bit was for the subway to get there. He had a high forehead, prominent cheekbones, and a mouth that was way too wide for his face. Missing his two front teeth, he looked like a bum, and even had that kind of smell that is synonymous to poverty. Piss and bourbon. He didn't wear any clothes, but by the way I'm describing him, you might imagine him as wearing a dirty flannel t-shirt and an old baseball cap. He stood for a moment in the doorway, getting his bearings. It was around 4 on a Thursday afternoon, which was as slow as it got at the Drunken Horse. The lunch crowd was gone, and it was far too early for the type of ponies who get drunk every night, wanting to forget their past and their mistakes. Myself included. He took notice of my presence right away. I caught the threatening glint in his eyes from across the room, and it threw me off, as a lump of trepidation caught in my throat. As I stared with wonder about his intentions, he stopped at the bar to reassure himself, and just when I thought it nerving, he took it upon himself to sit between the table I was occupying and the door. "Mr. Ponetti, do you know who I am?" he asked. "I know who you are," he called me. "Have a seat." He sat down opposite me, took out a cigarette and a box of matches, and then paused to ask if it was all right to smoke in here. I get that question more times than I care to admit, so I assured him that it was. His voice wasn't what I expected. It was quite soft, his accent from Manhattan. He was young, maybe a year or two older than me, which put him around his mid-20s. The waitress, Marilyn, came to the table while I was watching him. He ordered a glass of white wine, and I ordered another Chardonnay. I piled up my glasses from the previous orders into a leaning tower. It was amusing, but I'm sure it scared the crap out of poor Marilyn. She gave a tightly closed smile and then walked away. When the alcohol arrived, the pony in front of me put his hoof in his drink and then put the hoof on his mouth. I stared strangely, and before I could ask the question, he said, "It's a little habit I picked up in trotting him. Yeah, I got into a drinking contest with this lightweight. When he thought I wasn't looking, he added poison into my drink. Can you believe it? For a 50-bit bet. I was so pissed that I grabbed his face and smashed it through the table, not unlike this one. So now I make sure that every drink I have ain't poisoned or tainted in any way. I guess that's a habit I'll take to my grave." I didn't know how to respond. There was nothing crazy in his manner, but to hear his chilling story in such a nonchalant manner was off-putting. Oh well, wouldn't be my first time dealing with a maniac. I swallowed my drink, without testing it. "I can probably guess why you're here," I said. "Your reputation's growing. One of the rising stars in the business, they say." I couldn't have disagreed more with him. Last night, I had the potential to become rich. I tricked one of the wealthiest mayors in the city's Velvet Rose into giving me 20,000 bits in exchange for her grandfather's butterfly necklace, except the necklace was fake, and I could have sold the real one for a lot more money. I threw it in the Lost Pegasus River instead. Maybe it was too much alcohol messing with my common sense, or maybe I was just getting soft. The thought made me want to drown my sorrows in more Chardonnay. "I think you're putting more faith in what Shadow said than you should. I didn't think you'd recommend me for anything." "Oh, I asked for you by name. It just so happened that I knew him and he knew you and could put me in touch. See, I'm looking for some pony who's willing to help me with this job I'm working on. It pays well, in and out." "I'm afraid I don't do that kind of business." "Oh, yeah. Did I forget to mention that this nameless pony in front of me was a contract killer?" He was one of the most famous murderers west side of the Mississippi. The rumors were that he killed the ambassador from Griffin Kingdom only 10 years ago. That meant he would have been 15 or 16 when he did the dirty deed. Now that's dedication. You know who I am, you know what I do. Does it bother you? Not particularly. It's just, I'm a bit more hesitant to do it myself. It's difficult to conceal a knife in your mouth. You have magic on your side. That's not the only thing that matters. You have the guts, the know-how, and the intuition to pull it off. You also have the smarts. You graduated from Princeton, right? That was true. I got accepted into Princeton after high school, but since I couldn't afford it, I had to do some small jobs in order to pay my tuition. Beside my part-time job at the Hayburger, I also ransacked some ponies' cottages, had one-night stands with prostitutes and stole their money while they were sleeping, and of course, cheated on my taxes. What'd you get a degree in anyway? Criminology. He laughed. So you study criminal behavior in order to become a better criminal. That's genius! We all have to learn something other than what teachers cram down our throats in school. I just decided to make sure what I was learning was useful in real life. My parents weren't too proud of my decision, though. I'll bet. He paused. Look, this job pays out real well. It's some money who won't be missed. In fact, I'll go so far to say as he's scum. Clockwork is his name. He raped a mare, and then beat her with a rusty pipe until her eyes gouged out of her head. Now she's emotionally scarred and blind. Her father wants me to bring Clockwork to him, so we can have a little chat with him, so to speak. I'd gladly do it, but I'm afraid I have other commitments as of late. So you're just giving me this information? Out of the goodness of your heart? Hardly. I'll take a 20% referral fee, but that's all, and for this job, it's a great deal. How much? 100,000 bits. My jaw hit the floor. That was more money than I ever dreamed of. Even after the nameless pony's fee, I could still clear 80,000 bits. I could hire a butler. I would never have to cook again. Hell, I could probably buy the saloon we're in for that much money. His horn flickered, and he wrote something on the back of a napkin. And here is where the scum is hiding. All you need to do is show up, beat him till he's senseless, and then call me. No matter what you decide, remember this. This time tomorrow, you can be rich. If you get smart, as I know you will, call me. He got up and walked away. I just stared at the napkin he wrote the address and phone number on. I could buy a lot of Chardonnay for 80,000 bits. I could get a much better apartment, maybe even on Sunset Boulevard. I could probably retire on that amount, if I just stuck to my routine of drinking 10 glasses of Chardonnay a day and not much else. Then I would have to deliver some pony to his death. I wouldn't kill him myself, but it would add up to the same thing. The estranged father would probably pull his eyeballs out and make Clockwork eat them. The images of Clockwork's inevitable torture kept sticking in my mind. I knew that Clockwork probably deserved whatever he had coming to him, but I didn't want to be the executioner or even the guard escorting him to his death. I never killed any pony. I was afraid. I was afraid because I didn't know if I could trust myself to make the right decision. The stuff I've done and seen, I know I'm not innocent, but I'm not a murderer. Still, 80,000 bits was tempting. By this time tomorrow, I could be living in luxury. By this time tomorrow, I could hire 1,000 prostitutes to have the greatest night of my life. By this time tomorrow, I could be nothing but a murderer. I left the drunken horse and made my way downtown. I had to see an old friend, and her name was Midnight.